Awesome. I'm Austin Griffith. I'm here with Xavier. We're checking out haciendas.xyz. I'm so excited. It's like this little world we get to play in, and it's a Web3 world. How's it going, Xavier? How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of yours for a long time, so I'm really happy to have this opportunity with you.
And I've seen a sneak peek of this already, and I'm super excited about it. It's really like I have my love projects, and I feel like this is a love project of yours, and it really needs a good community around it. And that's kind of what we'll try to spark today and show it off. You want to share your screen?
Awesome.
We'll just like dive into it.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Here we go.
Welcome to Haciendas. All right, I'm already in, and I'm a boy, so you should be a girl or a cyborg, so it's different.
That works.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is the website.
Yes,
when you arrive, so you can go online, but this is, I have it on the local version. So you have Spanish music when you start.
I love it. And this is me kind of walking around with you also. So we're in a live, even though you're on localhost, I'm on haciendas.xyz, and we're on the live website, and we're kind of interacting here. So what are we doing here? What's the first step?
So basically you have now, as you say, it's a love project. So I have two approaches. One is more like a tutorial a game. If you go here in the house, you have like a small quest to discover. We are bumping into each other. But probably the more interesting part is to go directly in the more Ethereum part of things. And so here you have a small fox, and if you create an action with the fox, so by pressing the space bar, you get connected to your wallet. So here it's going to be my wallet.
I love it. And I've got mine connected too. And are we on like just Ethereum mainnet, or do we switch?
Yeah, I recommend Kovan.
Okay. All right, I'm on Kovan.
It can work on any network, but at the moment I do everything on Kovan.
And I can even talk here, right? I can type hello.
Kovan. So here we are.
All right.
So yeah, so now we are connected. We are connected to the Ethereum network, but we are also connected together in the chat. So
oh yeah, I see a little ETH logo in the top right now. That signifies that we're connected.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Ideally you will have a different color depending on the network, but for the moment you know you're connected.
And we're chatting. Awesome.
Yeah, and so the main and the most interesting thing we can do together, just so beside going in the game, I wanted this game to be as social as possible, because I feel like learning and discovering about digital assets is really often like a lonely experience where you have to go through many interfaces and read blog posts and look on YouTube to find a video that explains some things. And I wanted this experience to be more social, the way we are doing at the moment. And so that's why you have this chat, and also you have the ability to make an exchange with somebody. So I just press the space bar, and that creates a menu to make a transaction between me and you. So this is my address, 373, and this is yours, 34. And technically I should be able to send you one ETH. So as I don't have one ETH in my account, I connected from, I wasn't in the right network, so I need to refresh a bit. And so now I can connect to the network. Now it should be spontaneous, and I can go with you. And now I have an address. Actually, I bought on ENS this name, so it's only
cool.
on the Robsten version. But anyway, it looks at the ENS contract and on the chain.
Mine says AustinGriffith.eth. That's awesome. I can send you some Aave right now. That's so cool. I just drag it over here and it goes.
Yes, and I I can't guarantee it works for every asset actually at the moment, but and technically you should be able to try.
Really cool.
So, and you see it has already updated my balance. So I have 10K DAI because it's from the faucets and of Aave, and so I can send. But let me send you one ETH. That would create the transaction, and you see there is a small animation that shows that you have an ongoing transaction. So that's something that was important to us.
That's what the spinning transaction is. Sorry to interrupt. That's what you.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Neat.
The small transaction is just to show this, and we want for everything that you do in the game, and that's common in games to have like a feedback that gives you the sense of what you do. Otherwise, anyway, you're just clicking on an interface, whatever is the game. But if you have something that gives you the feeling of what you're doing, it's a bit better, I think. So that's why you have this transaction. Oh, you disappeared.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me come back in. I'm coming in now. I feel like maybe there needs to be like some, oh, where'd you go? You're up to the left? Wait, I can't. Oh, no, I see where you are. I'm coming. Here we go. Oh, I ran into the fox. Okay, so we can trade. I'm following you now.
Yeah, so we traded actually. Normally you should have received one ETH. If we check this.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we could go, we could go. Yeah, I did. I received one
I've sent it to you
just now. Yep. And we could go see that. Like we could go out to a disinterested third party. I'm looking at the Kovan Ether scan and it shows that you sent me one ETH just now. That's pretty awesome.
I will check this.
Yep, right there. Yep. Awesome. Okay, so we're in a world where we can trade crypto around. We can connect our Web3 wallet. I feel like there's tons of implications there. We could do some swaps. We could do I imagine like some token gating stuff where you have to have Aave token to get into a certain building, or maybe there's like a token sale at the edge of the building, and you go to the edge of the building, but you can't get in yet. So you buy some tokens and then you can go get in. This makes for like an awesome virtual crypto conference. We need to do something with this. I love it.
So that's the swap ID. So here you could be able to do the swap. So it's the same interface and you just drop a token and so on. I can't guarantee it fully works at the moment, but it's you see the ID and you can swap different things. So it's a marketplace, so you can choose which token you want to buy. But probably the most interesting part, as you mentioned, is more dedicated to one smart contract in particular, because my idea, and that's actually the reason for the name Haciendas, is to say that most smart contracts are like their own farm or ecosystem. And so each of them should have their own building kind of in this world. But I wanted to be the building just an interface for the different function of the smart contract. And so this is an Aave building we did. And here the idea is you could be able to deposit in the Aave smart contract by just using this pool. So it's a pool with different assets that are in Aave. And normally if I press action, I should be able to open.
I'm over here talking to the loan officer.
Yes. So the loan officer, it tells you that you need to deposit first to be able to load.
Oh, got it.
And so here are the pools, and I'm not sure it triggers well, but yeah, this is the idea of you being able to deposit an asset to the pool, and yeah.
Very cool. No, man, there's so many fun things we can do with this. I love it.
And
where are we off to now?
Is the Aave governance building. So that's the building that represents the governance part of Aave, and normally it's gated. So if you don't have,
it is okay. I knew about. I had a spoiler. I knew about that earlier. That's why I came up with that.
If you have Aave token, you can enter. Otherwise, you can't. And here the idea is you have different proposals. So if you click on one of them by pressing space, you have a summary of the proposal. So this is one on the testnet actually to add BAL on Aave, and this is another one. So currently the way I'm trying to do it is to just retrieve the last two ones, but to make the game even more interesting, what should be done is to be more flexible. So if there are many different proposals, each of them should be added to the game.
That is so cool, man. I love this. So it's kind of like I can see all the different potential that can happen here, but like, why haciendas? Like, why for you? Like, what is the purpose of the project for you?
So yeah, to me, the main purpose of the project is to have something that gives a more physical presence
Yeah.
to everything that's happening in blockchain and DeFi. Even we were discussing just earlier with colleagues on how the mining works and so on. Like, it's really abstract if you don't have a sense of it. So that's why I started actually with the small game that's on the left.
The
And
fishing
that,
game, right? Yeah. Let me
yeah,
go
the
find
fishing
that
game.
too.
I would go through that in this direction so we can have a sense of this.
Oh, I see the Ave has like Ave written in water too. Is there like a zoomed out view where you can see like a
Yeah,
bird's eye view of the whole thing and you
yes,
see Ave
yes,
over there? That's cool.
yes. Actually, we can go through that just
I'm in
after
the
when we look
forest
at
right
how
now.
the map is. We can look into that. But here,
Cool.
if you look like here, the idea is you have like that's representing the mempool, and you have different transactions that are going around, and you have as a miner to catch some transactions. So for this, you need to get the nets on the right. And so my first idea was this. So you just need to have something that's physical and that represents everything that happens in a blockchain. So now we are in this mission to get
Wait,
the
where'd you get the net?
transactions.
Oh, you go into the room and you hit spacebar.
Yep.
Oh, you just pick it up. Got it.
Yep. And now you have a net and you should be able to pick transactions. But
So cool.
so that was my initial idea. But now the more important part and why it's called haciendas is I feel like the social aspect of blockchain is more important.
Yes.
Everybody's like on telegrams and interacting with smart contracts and so on. So everyone wants to participate in a community. And when you enter and look at the website first, it's really harsh. Like and so having this kind of universe that's funny and that allows you to discover the game is a pretty good way to get on board with this. So yeah.
Even like the social aspect, the dialogue aspect, I'm realizing like as I'm taking someone through like the mental model, there is a dialogue, there's a back and forth where I may prompt with a question and we may go one direction or the other, right? It's not a linear story. It kind of depends on their own blind spots. And so being able to put something into a dialogue based thing is probably great for learning. I like this a lot. So I want to get into the guts of it, man. Will you show me some like map editor stuff? I know that like you said you pulled a lot of the graphics from like open source game libraries or something, but I think that you have a lot of tooling under the hood that I'd really like to look at also in a classic shill your stack kind of session.
So what's important to understand is that so this is a browser-based game. Basically, you have a map that represents everything that's on screen and game objects. So an object is, for instance, the character or the fox, or also here you have a faucet, but basically that's it. So every part of the game is either an object or just part of the map. And so first you have to do the map, of course. And for this, I found a fantastic software that's called Tiled. So I'm going to show it on screen. And
I just walked over and grabbed the Matic out of the pond right there, and it just took me to the Matic faucet. I love that. The little touches you put into this are really cool.
Yes, you can open here some faucets because you can imagine, like when I'm teaching to newcomers, getting a faucet is a major pain. Like it's difficult for them to find a faucet. So that's the Tiled. So as somebody that has played games younger and looked into RPG Maker or this kind of thing, that's to me like really awesome. So it's just like you have to drag elements to it, and it's really easy to compose a game with this. So the most important part first to understand is you have the tile sets. So a tile set is this on the right. It's a big image where you have, actually, I think you have
like sprites.
Yes. Yeah, it's a big image that it's I'm using 16 by 16 configuration. So everything is 16 pixel by 16 pixel. So here, actually, in this big image, I just copy pasted everything I found on the internet that I found cool and that I wanted to add to my game. And basically, that was just an empty image at first. As you can see, you have still some empty space. and I found different elements. Most elements come from Open Game Art. So it's a website where you have a lot of game assets that are in an open license, so either CC0 or CC So you have just to share the name of the creators. A couple of elements actually I created myself. So for instance, this is a photo of a tile that I wanted to give this Spanish flavor, and that's why it's and I just pixelated it. And the two ones here also are pictures. So I try to use real pictures and just make them look at as game art. I'm not a good person to draw myself, so I had to manage with this. And yeah, and so that's all the assets. And once you have all these images, what you do is basically you select one here on the right. So for instance, let's say I want to make a path. So I'm gonna do that. And here I go on the map and I just put the path somewhere so I can draw it. It's not looking so good, so I'm gonna remove it. And so that's really fun because you just draw with the elements, the small bricks that you have. But
that's
if
awesome.
we go more,
so if like we wanted to hold a conference, we could be like, we could drop in, draw our little map, draw our little house. Like this is all very composable and constructible, and anybody who wanted to could just kind of like dive into your repo and start playing with this stuff. That's so cool.
Yes, and actually it's even more flexible because what comes out of this is just a JSON object with a big matrix of the elements, but it would be easy to let people create their own map and even to generate map programmatically by just a few parameters. So it's very flexible.
The token model, like the building with the thing outside where you buy the token and then you go inside if you have the token, could just be like a template, and then you apply it to any token you want and throw a logo on a door and white label it for someone's event or something like that. That's cool.
Yes, that's my idea, and especially what I would like is to make it easy when you have smart contract that follow the same standard to just create the object with all the different functions. But I'm not there yet, but that's something I would love to do. Just something to understand on the inner workings is you have different layers, the way that works. So visually you see everything is together, but it matters, for instance, when the character is moving around, the trees are above the character. So when I'm behind, I'm hidden by the tree because they are a layer that's above the player. And also some tiles I can't go through. So for instance, I can go through the trunk. So if I see you, it's a bit laggy, you can go. But for me, I can't go I can go past the trunk. So that makes limits. The same happen with the wall. If I go against the wall, I can go through. So basically it's just one parameter of this tile that says if I can go through or not. And so
but right there's one game. We're playing crypto hide and seek right now where I'm hiding behind a tree and scaring you. This is great. What were you saying? I see all these objects in here too, where there's like the fox and the start position. Can we dive into those too?
Yeah, so the last two layers are more important. And so one is NPC. So for instance, the fox is an NPC. So basically I have one layer I can hide other layers, and we see that you have the location of all the different NPCs. So that's the Guardian Andres, you have Fox, here you have a unicorn, here you are some engineers. So you have different, and you have also the ghost we saw earlier. It's here, the guide, and that's the loan officer is here. So any object can be found. Oh, actually, we can see now the Aave logo.
There it is.
On the left, if you zoom out a bit.
And this it's mapeditor.org, right? Is where the...
Yes.
Okay, just double check.
Mapeditor.org, it's called Tiled. And what's pretty cool to me is that it's a really agnostic tool. So you could create your own JavaScript framework fully and just use that as a base to create your map and then use fully your own tools. Because there are many editors that way, but usually they are linked with a particular framework or a set of tools to create games. And this is a fully agnostic tool, so you could You can even use it to draw something and just make a picture if you found that's something nice.
It's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. It's already visually stimulating. Like just looking at the map is just fun. Like I just want to go hang out in this world. It's cool.
Yes. Yeah, definitely that's enjoyable. And what I call helper are everything that's a bit more function. So for instance, you have the start position of the player, you have the faucets that you saw that gets triggered, and here you have the exchanges. So as you can see, you don't have the picture of the coin here, it's just helper, and actually you have a custom property on the left that says which token it is. So it's this is an exchange, a swap thing for a die. This is a swap for Aave, and you can add any new one. So if I want to add a swap for I don't know, USDC, I just have to create a new helper and yeah. Actually, I can do that if you want.
How do we
So
get into the code? Yeah, I'd like to see like once we have this buy thing, I'm guessing there's like some Web3 code that then goes in. All right, here we go. We're bringing in a token. We're bringing in a token.
Yes, we're adding USDC.
Okay.
So we'll be able to see later in the game that's USDC, and it has to be, the name has to be buy.
Oh,
yeah, that's
the
it.
name matches to the code. Yeah. Okay. I think I remember.
Yeah. So in the code,
this. Yeah.
I will look for everything that's called buy, and then I will look in the custom property token, and I want to see if it's if it's an asset that I know, I will display the image and allow you to swap with it. So that's how extensible it is. But now you're right. Let's go into the code. So
let's go to the code.
So I'm using a library that's called Phaser. That's pretty common to do Web3 interfaces and web games. But something that's to note is like Phaser is not critical to the game. It constrained a lot because it forces you to work with objects and so on. But you could create your framework from this. But in the index HTML, I'm just creating global game objects. And the way Phaser works, basically, you have scenes. So a scene is a place where you have different objects that are going to be displayed. The main two scenes we are going to use are the game scene, where you have every character and everything like this, and the interface scene, where you have every element of the interface. So for instance, the chat and the if logo when you connected and everything that you noticed. So if we look at the game scene, so you're loading different objects at the beginning, you're creating a mapping for the keys, and yes, so you can use WASD or the arrows, and it's going to be picked up as.
So these key mappings are going into Phaser. Is that part of Phaser?
Yeah, that's part of Phaser that I'm doing. So I'm just mapping each key to one variable, and so to be able to use them. Then I have this function initialize map. That's actually the most probably important for the game. I'm loading the tile sets. So the tile set is one image that we have preloaded before. There is a preload scene, but it's just loading every asset and referencing them with a name. And then I'm just creating the map here, which is this make tile map. So I'm creating the map here and adding the tile set. So with those two functions, basically, you have most of the game already. You see the game and you have all the display and everything. But then what I'm doing is a lot of function like this. I'm looking in the layer that's called helpers for an object, and for instance, start position. And this is going to be the start position of the player. If there is none, there is a default start position, but otherwise it's going to be the one that's found on the layer. So this function is going to be used many times because we are just looking for something in the map and trying to display it. And So I'm going to skip a few elements, but now if we look at the map itself, once you have the map, you create a player. So a player is a specific object I've created. So a game object in Phaser is either an image or a sprite. An image is just one static image, and a sprite is like our character. It can have different animations depending on what it does. So that's adding the player.
How does the
And
sprite select? So a sprite is just like one big image and it knows where to like select the specific
yes,
image. Is
so
it
if
is it
we,
hard to do that? Is that automatic? Like what does that look like from a coder's perspective? Or,
yes,
and
we
if
can
that's
look
too
at
much of
that.
a tangent, yeah.
No, that's interesting. So the base asset we have for this is an image like this. So this image is for each character you see different position of the character. So you could be a girl, a boy, or a cyborg, but actually have a few ones that come from this asset that could be used. But you can find many online, or you could create your own. Actually, I created a couple. You just create an image and you tweak it a bit to have the different action of the player. You just raise a bit an arm or something. And so that's how it works. It's important that it's always using the same scheme, because that way it's easier to create the animation.
So there's an automatic mapping. So when I hit the J button and start going left, it knows out of all of these 11 or whatever there are here, it knows which ones to select, or 12. It
Yes,
knows which one to select out of that.
but in terms of code, it's not so direct. First,
Okay.
I have a list that says for every, so when you select, for instance, you select the character, it tells me it's a frame 1. That's the reference frame, because
It's
I
like
want
the
to
starting.
be,
Yeah.
the one is the second one from the left. So it tells me the cyborg, the base is here. And then the second things that happens is this piece of code that's called create animations. So that's a phaser function. And actually I'm creating different animations with a specific frame rate, a repetition or not, and depending on your character. So depending on your character name, if you have a cyborg, for instance, I'm going to create an animation. And you see I'm using the base frame as a reference, and then I'm adding a number. For instance, so plus 11 will be, so that's when you're moving to the left. So
Yep.
if you look,
it's kind of just like a mapping of like, here's where they are. And if, as long as I stick to this standard, like I'll have to do a little math to kind of increment that for the animation. That's really neat.
Actually, you encounter this a lot when you're using this kind of sprites, and you have two ways to do it. So either how is organized your file, and you create this index and you go through it. You can also create what they call an atlas. So I haven't used that, but an atlas is a JSON object that says for this picture, gives a name for every element of it. And then you use that to create the animation by saying, I'm going to use this sprite, this sprite, this sprite. So it depends how that works. But as I wanted to create many animations for different characters at the same time, I found it easier to work with an index. But there are probably other methods. I had a lot of troubles working on this, actually. I'm not a game developer myself, so I had a lot of troubles to find good practices on this, because I feel like for a typical web interface, you have a lot of
standards, and this is how we do
standard
it.
And examples, and even like the structure of your folders, like there is a way to do it, and everybody does the same. When in games and even using a framework like Phaser, that's quite common. There is not one reference, so you have to create a bit your organization of the code, and that was the most painful to me, to try to figure out how it should be organized. And I'm just at the moment where it starts to be making sense for me, so I'm happy with that.
You said you're not a game developer, but I think you're becoming a game developer. I think you're going up the learning curve here.
Well, I'm saying I'm not a game developer because I never did that in uniform, but creating small educative game has been a long passion of mine. I can even like show you a small example of the typical kind of thing I've done a few times.
I'm down with this too. I'm in this same, like, let's create games to help get up the mental model, help people like understand Ethereum, help people understand Web3. Let's like make a cool cypherpunk game or something like that. It's something I'm kind of working on the side too.
Yes. Yes, I found one.
So the next thing we haven't talked about is collisions, and I'm guessing a collision works the same way. And what do we got here? Oh, this is
That's
you
just,
setting up electricity. Is that what it is?
yeah, it's a more like a logical kind of thing. So it's a
Oh, that's
cellular
cool.
automaton, you know, like the game of life.
Like you could make
But
like XOR gates with like cellular autonoma kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
And so that's the kind of thing I've done a few times. So, but using pure, typical HTML JavaScript stuff, which makes it quite easy because it's just a square, and so when you're using more game assets and so on, everything becomes a bit more complex because you have to load those assets and create the animation, create the sounds. It's getting another level of difficulty for I find.
And it's kind of weird how you mapped it too. You set it up so you have to like go catch transactions in the water and then take them down and mine them with that lever, right? Like it's like I don't even know if that's the best way to teach it. It's just like a very visceral way of doing it. You almost have to go through it a few times to be like, do I get the mental model because I physically went through this, or is there a better way to like show, okay, you take these and they go into a pool and whoever has the biggest vote gets picked up in the block. Like you really have to think through like how you want to teach it with the story you tell. It's really cool.
Yes, and actually, exactly. And to me, that's probably the most important next step on this project at the moment. Is like, of course, the code can be improved. There are many bugs at the moment, and stuff that can be slightly improved. But I feel like the most important part is how you find the right narration that helps somebody to really understand almost physically how that works. And I'm really looking to find people that can help me on this, because I think that's the most difficult thing to do is I'm teaching a lot of my life and finding the right way to explain. And there is no perfect right way, it depends of people, but on blockchain specifically, I think that the learning curve could be easier if you had the right explanations.
Totally. And you just kind of hinted at kind of like you want to get help from a community. There's a lot of place. I've swapped it to like video. I don't even know if this is going to do the video, but I think we're back to us on video. What is a good place to get started? Like, where would you like, if I was a developer that wanted to jump in and help with this, if I wanted to clone it or fork it or add something new, where's a good place to kind of like meet up with you or talk with you or just get in and start providing value to see this project keep going?
Yes, yeah. So the purpose of this game is to be mostly a community-led effort to make it easy for people to understand the project. I want it to be done as much as possible in partnership with different organizations that have this question of onboarding people. And I'm not naive. I think it's a good way also to find some economic model, because even if I have my priority is teaching and these kind of activities, I find if there is a right economic model that makes this project more sustainable over time. But what I'm looking into is really to find people here to help me, so either on the code or in the education part of it. And the best way to reach out is simple. If you look to haciendas.xyz, so on the website, I can share it again. You have actually a link to join
too. I'll
Discord
throw the link all
below.
over in the chat and stuff.
Great. So yeah, and you if you click on join Discord, you just join the Discord, and so there is a small team that helped me to work on this. And so particularly, yeah, Kevin, Lucia, and Jake, that have been helpful in having ideas. Lucia, for instance, she's a designer specialized in Web3 interfaces, and so she has helped a lot. And so yeah, the best way is to join us and to engage and see how we can work. And everything, of course, is open source, so it's easy to jump on the repository and look at it.
I joined the Discord. Where do I find the repository?
Yeah, so the repository is simply on GitHub, and it's github/xalava, my name, /haciendas.
How do you pronounce your last name too, by the way? I wasn't even going to try that. Xavier, what's your last name?
So my last name is Lavessière. Can I see?
Love it. Love it. Xavier Lavessière. I'm so American. I'm so bad at pronouncing names.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's a very French name, which is funny to me because I'm half Spanish. That's why I'm called Xavier, because it's also Javier in Spanish. And I like the fact that even if I'm not so French, I have the most French name that's possible. But yeah.
That's awesome, man. Okay, so we've got this world and it's all open source and it's a great big map where people can all come in and hang out together. It's very social, but on top of all of that, it's Web3 connected, and you go talk to a fox to connect your MetaMask. You walk around and you catch tokens right out of the water, or you put tokens into a liquidity pool. You can have token gated stuff where you have to have a token to get in somewhere. You can trade peer-to-peer, right? That was happening where two people were kind of like sending stuff back and forth. And you're basically like, I love this project. I'm building this cool thing. It's probably for education. Let's get some community behind it. Let's get some more people that are interested in this, and let's get in here and kind of like take it to the next level. And the best jumping off point is probably your Discord. Is that right? Making sure I reiterate that correctly.
Yep. Exactly. So currently I have a good steady pace where every day I try to make one new feature and add one feature per day to the game. Sometimes the feature is just a good refactoring of the last day, but that's how you keep a good pace. And definitely join the Discord or make a pull request directly to the repo, of course.
Dope. Yeah. Another thing I was thinking of is like, what if I'm not a developer, but I'm like Stanny or someone who's like working for Aave, or someone who's like, say you have a big company that's in Web3 and you would love to like hold an event in one of these little worlds. Are you open to that? Can people reach out to you about that also?
Yes, of course. And actually joining the Discord or contacting me directly is the best way to do that. But you mentioned not being a developer, so companies would be great, but also anybody that has a good experience in design or education. We have done a really good job, I think, to create a Notion where you can, we have a good documentation, and we have like documented every project that inspired us, like from Minecraft, like Stardew Valley, and every this kind of project and game, and try to look at every feature we wanted to do, like for instance, how you represent a liquidity pool, and try to come up with a few ideas. So if people have a good eye on this, that would be highly valuable also.
Even like community management is awesome right now, right? Like Web3 projects just need someone who's like, I'm just a good person with a big heart that can bring a lot of people together. Like that's valuable too. Awesome. Yep. So I will post this up on YouTube. I will put in all these links so everybody has a good link to get to you. Xavier, thank you very much, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing where haciendas.xyz goes next. And I'm excited to like get in and interact with a whole bunch of people in one of these worlds. Like, I think we should just do like a demo world where we post it up for some event, like maybe some hackathon that's coming up. We could just all jump in here for a little bit, just kind of like play around and maybe do some Web3 stuff. Maybe some game is kind of incorporated into the game that's already there. Some side quests. I'm excited, man. This is gonna be really cool.
That's awesome.
All right, man. Hearts. Thank you very much. Happy Thursday. See you.